In today's rapidly evolving landscape, the demand for impactful green investments has never been more urgent. Our upcoming panel, exploring the ESG-fintech Nexus, will delve into new fintech services as a dynamic catalyst for enhancing corporate ESG impacts. Please welcome.
Evdokia, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to see us today. My name is Evdokia. I'm coming from SALVUSFunds. We are a consultancy firm based in Cyprus. We are specialized in licensing, regulatory compliance, internal audits for all verticals of, I would say, financial markets, of investment firms, payments, crypto. And I'm happy to be here today to discuss something new, something that can be boring or can be something useful for people to see how we will incorporate all of this in the coming years, as the roadmap is quite big.
Excellent, thank you guys. Our limited time. So but if we start, I'm just going to open up to the panel to see, who at the moment do you think is driving the interest in ESG? Is it coming from the youth, or do you think it's actually coming from the top?
I can take that on. I will say, first of all, that we have a regulatory framework there, and we have the European deal, which runs for 10 years, I will say a plan now, where we're looking to implement a pipeline of rules in the ESG sector. And the aim is sustainable finance, growth, etc. However, the question is, who started this evolution? In our perspective, we can see that can be driven from the need for new products. So we have new products because we have to market ourselves in another way. The question here in the trap can be, are we going for greenwashing practices, which that's not the aim. Now, we have the legislation and we have the road to go through the coming years for aiming sustainability and also environment saving, climate saving, low carbon and all of that. But the question is, are we adding more compliance rules where nobody actually aims to complete them, just make the paperwork.
Tick in the box, yeah.
Tick in the box, making the paperwork, but actually the products will not serve this. Or we're actually aiming to do the paperwork, but actually complementing what we're actually writing in our products to actually implement something helpful for the environment, helpful for the social aspect, which is a very big area, and the governance especially, which is having very good organizations and, in a way, compliance.
So are you actually physically making an impact, or actually are you doing it just because it looks quite good?
Yeah.
And that's getting that balance right and actually making sure it's the former, not the latter.
Yeah, so answering the question is, I believe that we are driven from the media, then from the regulation, because we have to do it, but the main question will be, are we ready to implement it?
And regulation-wise, when's that likely to come in, do you think? Or when are people starting to have to actually meet these ESG standards?
Regulation is already here.
Okay.
Yes, it's already here.
And that's in Europe, in Cyprus? We're talking across the entire financial network?
And US.
And US.
Okay.
Yes.
And China and India, it's just now, sorry, I want to
No,
tell you.
Yeah, so that's a really good point, actually, because let's take an example of a company that goes, look, these ESG rules, the guidance have been around since the 1980s. Everyone's taken them a bit more seriously, and it's probably been led by their audience as well. Certainly, we've been notified that this new generation of young users that come in and go, hey, I actually want this to be a little bit more conscientious towards the environment, towards looking after different types of people in society, et cetera, et cetera. So if a company comes to you, I'm going to start with you, Evdokia. If the company comes to you and says, look, we want to comply, where would you start with them? Would you go and open up the bonnet of the company and say, oh, okay, you need to start with almost a blank canvas? Or is there kind of a checklist that you go through to make sure that they're now doing things which qualifies them in line with sort of the ESG criteria?
I will say that we never go from canvas because we have unoperated firms. So they have already a certain set of regulations in place. So, for example, now we have the ESG rules where they are implemented and they're added in the IFR, the investment firm regulation, for example. So this regulation captures a lot of things there. So one of the things that are implemented came into force this year are part of the ESG, which means that your products has to be verified that you follow that. A part of this ESG is linked also with product governance. Now, all of those firms, they already have product governance procedures, and they already have their policies in place, etc. So they have to go and review it and revise it according to the criteria. Plus that, they have to comply and add all of this in the onboarding procedure to capture whether the clients are actually interested for the specific products, especially if you are offering portfolio management services. Mm-hmm. And this is the difficulty for those firms that they are offering those portfolio management services, and they are not kind of aware that they have to capture all of those suitability requirements within the onboarding procedure. So it's not something that you have to do it from scratch, but you have to be aware of it. You have the responsibility to have aware and update your policies. And I will say this is more difficult than starting from scratch. Yeah. Because if you start from scratch, you go to your advisor and say, okay, let me know what we have to do, and I will tell you what you have to do. From the other hand, if you are already operational, you have to make sure that, this is coming, okay, tell me what to do and what to revise. Yeah. Additional to that, a very important role now is about the gender equality, which is very difficult. Despite it that in favor or not, we have board of directors, and now we need to ensure we have equality of genders. So all those firms that they are looking for hiring and difficulties for hiring people, they have to ensure that they have in their employment structure, and they are both women. Yeah. And is it easy to find the appropriate talent and tick the box of you have to be women, you have to be good, you have to tick the box of knowing about audits, knowing about the regulations, knowing about everything. And I'm a woman, okay? I'm in favor, of course, of all of that, but we have to make sure to tick the first box that we have knowledge and skills, and then we go to meet the rules of sustainability. And I think the ESG rules, which I believe that will create more issues, especially in the financial sector, than updating my policy and offering a green product. We can do that, and it is. So
actually, the demand for the gender equality on a board is obviously high to get that female sort of percentage in, but then you're saying maybe the supply isn't quite there yet if you're trying to tick all the boxes. And you find that
which comes first?
Yeah. Yes. Obviously you want to have the best board you possibly got, but obviously you've got to meet the standards. I suppose that for a company coming in, they're trying to look at the ESG format and going, okay, how can I make it work for me so the company is obviously compliant, but also we perform at the optimal level. And it's obviously trying to work out, because certainly what we're seeing is that they shouldn't be scared of embracing all the concepts, and actually some of them can be used to their advantage.
That is why it's a teamwork.
Yeah.
I fully embrace what was said before by Evdokia, because it is, you see it first on the product.
Yeah, no, it's just more of the
too many regulations. There are too many regulations, especially in Europe, where it's very difficult for all participants here to follow them. Okay. And then they say, do I need to be in Europe? Yeah. Or it's better to be in a third country where we have less regulations and less headaches, and actually what I'm looking for, profit. That's the bottom line. No, that's the highest the aim.
So they're going offshore just so they don't have to meet these criteria or even meet these obligations. I think we're going to be put pressure on to wrap something up. But thank you everyone for coming. That's been really kind of you to come and ask your questions, and I hope that was really helpful.